Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age zone coverage, Puckett's Pond. My co-host is Adam Patrick, managing editor of the Viking Age. And we do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. So however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Now, today we're going to preview next week's showdown with the Detroit Lions. We will acknowledge someone, but first, as always, it's time to overreact to a Week 17 victory over the Green Bay Packers. As usual, Adam, I will give you the chance to receive or defer. What is your biggest overreaction?
Yeah, I'll receive today. So the Vikings were able to get a nice win over the Packers, even though I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the game said the Packers were the better team, despite their record being not as good as the Vikings. But so the Vikings won, and I feel like the game was not as close as the score was. I feel like Packers kind of just crept back in at the end there in garbage time and made it seem a lot closer. The Vikings needed to, got it out at the end there, but I feel like they were in control for most of the game. I think if we look at like stuff like win probability, it wasn't really even that close. But my first overreaction is that Sam Darnold has been the best quarterback in the entire NFC this season. Not just the NFC North, but the best quarterback in the NFC. Now, I think you go over in the AFC, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I'll still give the edge to Patrick Mahomes just because he's Patrick Mahomes. So AFC, that's it. Those guys are better. I'm not even going to argue with that. But in the NFC, I think he's playing better than anybody this season so far. So Darnold this season has completed 68% of his passes for over 4,100 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, got a passer rating over 105. Some might say maybe Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff has been better this year, but I'm going to tell you why that's not the case. So Mayfield has also put up impressive numbers of almost 4,300 yards passing, 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, but almost half of his passing yards have been generated while trailing this season. So that means that he's had to throw more. Mayfield has 245 pass attempts when trailing the season compared to Darnold, who only has 115 pass attempts when trailing. So Mayfield's numbers do look impressive. It seems to be he's been maybe taking advantage more of maybe softer defenses playing with a lead. And his production hasn't really translated to as many wins. The Bucs are 9-7, and the Vikings are 14-2. And Darnold has also been better in late game situations. Mayfield only has one game-winning drive, and Darnold has 5 game-winning drives. So that's Mayfield, and then we'll take a look at Goff real quick here too. So, pretty much the whole story with Goff is no quarterback has benefited more from yards after the catch than Jared Goff this season. Lions fans are already freaking out, but the Lions currently lead the entire NFL in yards after the catch, while the Vikings rank 27th in yards after the catch this season. 58.3 of Goff's passing yards this season have come from yards gained after the catch. Compare that to 40% of Darnold's passing yards that have come from yards after the catch. To further illustrate this, that Goff is more of a dink and dunk artist this season, and Darnold has actually been throwing the ball down the field. The Vikings currently rank first in completed air yards per completion, which is the average yards in the air the ball has traveled before a completion. And the Lions rank 22nd in that category. The Vikings also currently rank second in the NFL in intended air yards per pass attempt, while the Lions rank 30th. So while Goff has been he's mostly benefited from his receivers and running backs making plays for him, Darnold has been the one throwing his receivers open and getting the ball to them more than just a few yards past the line of scrimmage. So that's why I think Sam Darnold has been the best quarterback in the entire NFC this season.
And let's remember, too, Kevin O'Connell's offense is difficult to master.
Yep.
Like Kirk Cousins, for all the things that we've crapped on him for, he's very meticulous. He's very good at the preparation. That's probably the biggest strength of his game. And it took him about a year and a half to really get down the offense with the, I was about to say code words, which has a negative connotation when it comes to the Kirk
PTSD,
Cousins
yeah.
era. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's the lingo. It's knowing where the ball needs to go and when to do it. And it sounds like Kevin O'Connell has just told Sam Darnold, you either stick with the concept of the play, you check it down, or you get rid of it. Like those are the three options in every play, which sounds very simple to do, but when you're doing it at a NFL speed and most of the routes are long developing routes, it becomes a bit of a problem. As far as the NFC goes, I think you're right. I mean, kind of thinking about it, it's like Jalen Hurts. I mean, his own receivers don't like him.
He's got 18 touchdown passes. Like,
right.
I know he is a lot better at running the ball, but like overall, I feel like Darnold's just played better than him this year.
Right. I mean, Jordan Love, I mentioned it a little bit before coming into this. He's like the Hydra. It's like 1 minute he'll have it. And some of the throws that Love made yesterday were really good. If Green Bay could find a receiver that could catch, they'd be a pretty good football team. Unfortunately, I think somebody posted it during the game, like, where do the Packers find these guys? And it was like the top 4 in drop percentage this year were like Dontavian Wicks, Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think Romeo Dobbs was in there, like all with, or probably Christian Watson. I bet that's who it was. Like those 4 lead the league in drop percentage. So I look at what Darnold has done, hunting down fields, making those throws. And the other thing too is that, this is like the Jared Goff story on steroids, where the guy was given up on, he gets traded. Everybody thinks, oh, he's a stopgap, he'll just take over the rookie. And the Vikings love him. Like, look at the video yesterday, if you haven't, that the Vikings posted on their social media account, where Darnold walks in, and it's like the college basketball thing where they pull an upset in March Madness and they all have the water bottles and stuff. Like the whole team was doing that. They were carrying him on his shoulders. And like, even Darnold was like, I didn't know what to do with my hands. Like Ricky Bobby said, I was like, yeah. Woo.
JJ like, McCarthy was in there too.
Exactly. Like, holding him up. And not sitting in the background like, that should be me. Nope. It should have been me. No. I did say last week, I'm done talking about 2025 and the future of the Vikings quarterback position. But I'm warming to the idea of having him around next year, and next year only, not 2020. Some people are out there like, in 5 years. No. Next year, you bring him back, and if he has another monster year, you tag and trade him.
Yep.
Like, because I think having that flexibility, especially too, like if you sign him to a 3-year deal, you can play enough financial gymnastics to avoid years and shoving the cap hit down the road that it would be easy to get rid of him if you feel like JJ McCarthy's the guy. Like, I'm just saying, I don't want to go too far into the weeds of that discussion, but I agree with you. Sam Darnold's having the best season of any NFC quarterback right now. Like, that's not, and even in the NFL, like, who's better? Is it, you got Josh Allen? Yeah, I'd probably put him ahead. Lamar Jackson.
And Joe Burrow's playing really well. The rest of his team is just terrible.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's insane right now. I mean, I'd put Burrow ahead of Patrick Mahomes this year, actually.
Yeah.
Even though they want, and I mean, it's probably nothing against Mahomes. Like, look at who he's throwing to. He's throwing to the corpse of Travis Kelce, and
Mahomes is not the typical. He's not. He wasn't really last year either. Where like he's just throwing bombs downfield to guys. So yeah, like, and I did this overreaction because I was just looking at the teams in the NFC too, and like the quarterbacks, and I'm like, yeah, he's better than Stafford. He's better than Purdy. He's better than Kyler Murray. He's better than Dak Prescott's not even playing. Like, Jaden Daniels has played really well this year, but I'd still take Darnold over Jaden Daniels right now. Not for the rest of his career, obviously, but for this season. And then you look at the South. There's Baker Mayfield. Kirk Cousins got benched. I'm not taking Spencer Rattler or anybody else. So like it's not like there's a whole lot to pick from. But even still, I feel like Darnold has outperformed the rest. And then get the showdown next week. Maybe that'll decide everything against the Lions.
Well, I think for the showdown next week, somebody needs to do their homework. And that's my overreaction. Number one, leading off for me. Tom Brady made his debut as a broadcaster for a Vikings game yesterday, and I'm pretty convinced if his name was Gus Farad, he would be announcing Fox's C game. The whole Fox setup, by the way, too, is just god awful. Like the pregame show, because like the NFL loaded its schedule so weird with the 2 games on Christmas and then 3 on Saturday that there were only 2 late games. So like this was the first time all year I'm like, I don't need to go to Red Zone. Like I don't care about the Browns and the Dolphins. Like they don't matter. So I was sitting there watching Terry Bradshaw, Michael Scraton. Oh my God. Like old, so old.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Just, Terry. Yeah. I don't like the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know how they're here this end. Sam Darnold, their quarterback. Like, oh my God.
I think he still thinks Brett Favre's their quarterback.
Yeah, he's like, I like Brett Favre. He's throwing it down the field. I saw that number 4 in there. There's a 1 in front of that, Terry. Tom Brady also did his opening thing for the game, and he said, these Packers, they have they've lost to some good teams. And, they lost to the Lions twice. They lost to the Eagles. And what's that other team again? What's it? Allow me to introduce that other team to you, Tom. That is the Minnesota Vikings, who have a 14-2 record, the best wide receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson, an MVP candidate in Sam Darnold, and a defense that crushed Toyota-thon QB Jordan Love and offensive genius Matt Karen LaFleur. And they play America's sweetheart, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions for the NFC North title next weekend. So I want to make this sure. This is not your fault because you did an excellent job duping Fox into giving you a broadcasting job for $20 million a year. And you just took that money and became minority owner of the Raiders. So you do deserve a hand for that. But every other national media outlet would rather talk about something else. They'd rather talk about Josh Allen. They'd rather talk about Lamar Jackson. They'd rather talk about Mahomes. Mahomes and the Chiefs. How are they getting away with this? Sunday Night Football last night at halftime. They go into halftime and they talk about Saquon Barkley. He could get the rushing record in 17 games, but we're not going to mention that at all. Our own fans would rather talk about who is playing quarterback next year than what the Vikings are doing right now. So this team, and I'm going to say this could be another overreaction. This team is reaching 1998 levels of Vikings hype. And I do not say that lightly. That is like the section of my brain that is stored in a nuclear safe with big purple letters lettered 1998. And the Vikings are starting to crack that code because this is a team. This is a legitimate championship team. But when it comes to the rest of the national media, the Minnesota Twins used to have this ad campaign in the early 2000s. It was called Get to Know Them. And it was a group of young players. They did like a series of ads to introduce players to fans. They need to do that for the national media because nobody is paying attention. And maybe beating Dan Campbell and the Lions next week will finally grab it. That's my rant.
You remember the Dallas Mavericks 2010, 2011 season when I think that was LeBron's first year with the Heat? Everybody was focused on, look, LeBron's Heat and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, they're in the championship, they're gonna win, and nobody wanted to talk about the Mavericks and anything. And then what happened? The Mavericks won the finals. They won the championship, but nobody wanted to talk about them. And I feel like that's kind of like the Vikings are going to like fly under the radar and get to the Super Bowl this year, and that people will still be like, well, yeah, but if the Lions did this or the Eagles did this, then the Vikings wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. But like, it's like what more do they need to do? Like, still yesterday, heading into the game, a lot of people who get paid to talk on TV about football were like, oh, I think the Packers have the edge with Jordan Love. I think the Packers have the better team. They're on a hot streak now because they've defeated, I don't know, the Bears and the Seahawks. So like I don't know what the Vikings need to do to get respect. I don't know if Kevin O'Connell really wants the Vikings to get, hyped up and get that respect because I think he's kind of getting this team to feed off of that. And it makes me wonder, like, if they do get the 1 seed, if they might actually be better off not getting that 1 seed and actually, being the 5 seed and just wrecking everybody on the road who thinks they're going to win because they're the higher seed. So um, yeah, I'm fine with the Vikings being underappreciated because we know they're good. And then when they keep winning, there's only, when they win, if they win the Super Bowl, there's no argument then. So I think if they win on Sunday over the Lions, I think there's going to be a lot more talk about the Vikings. But even then, I feel like people are like, "Oh, I think the Lions can beat the Vikings in the playoffs. I think the Packers could upset the Vikings in the playoffs." And it's like, but they didn't beat him at all in the season, so it is what it is. But yeah, I think the Vikings deserve more respect and to be talked about more. But that's usually how it goes too for the Vikings.
You know what it is? It's the Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, Colorado effect.
It
Like
is.
Colorado gets absolutely dog walked in a game against BYU, and the headlines are Shador and Travis Hunter wrap up a tremendous tenure
Yeah.
at Colorado. Like, okay, guys, we get it. Dion's gonna get mad if you say anything bad about Colorado football or whatever, but
Was Shador wearing? Was he
was
really
wearing
wearing?
Giants cleats.
Really?
And then the
And then
Giants
the Giants
went
were like,
and
"Nah, we're not doing
they
that. We're
won.
gonna win."
They won. They knocked themselves out of the first pick. They're like,
We'll
nah,
trade
we're
for
good. We're good,
trade for
bro.
we'll trade for Zach Wilson instead.
Oh my God. It
All right.
just, yeah.
For my second overreaction, a little bit more on the pessimistic side here because it's that time of year for Vikings fans. I sent you that message of our analytics for the Viking age, and people are already looking up the most agonizing playoff losses in Vikings history. So people are getting ready. But I hate to say this, but I think the Vikings might have a kicking problem, which isn't good right before the playoffs. So Will Reichard missed 2 of his 4 field goal attempts on Sunday against the Packers. Missed a 57-yarder that hit the bottom of the crossbar. I thought it was good. I thought it was going to be good from like 65, but then it fell short. So it was weird.
It was very similar to the Falcons field goal last night.
Yes.
Where like you're watching it and you're like, oh, it went through. And then
Did
you
you
saw the
see?
refs.
Did you see some of the videos of people celebrating? Yeah.
There's one at the I don't know if it's like what the Cardinals have, but it's like the Braves version at Truist Park, and like people were freaking out, and they had the smoke go off and everything. They're like, "Oh, they didn't make it."
And then he missed a 43-yard field goal, but that also hit one of the side crossbars. So they weren't bad misses, but just maybe a little bit unlucky here, tweak a few things here. He also missed a 55-yard field goal at the end of the first half, but it didn't count because the Packers were, I guess they were offsides.
Yeah.
I
mean, LaFleur went full Karen in that moment, but at the same time, he kind of had a point.
Yeah. So the 2 field goals Riker did make were from 25 and 50 yards away. So in his first 7 games this year, Riker made all 14 of his field goal attempts. Since then, he's missed 4 games because of an injured quad, and he's gone 7 for 12 on his field goal attempts. That's 5 misses in 5 games. So, like I said, I guess the good news is that his misses on Sunday weren't like egregious. There were some really bad misses around the NFL this weekend. So like maybe it shouldn't take much to fix those. Hopefully he's still not hurt. I would imagine he's not fully 100%, but hopefully it's not too bad. But a kicker struggling right before the playoffs is not something Vikings fans really want to think about right now since they're fighting for the 1 seed. And that just brings up a bunch of bad memories. Not sure what Minnesota can do moving forward. Maybe bring back Parker Romo. I think he's on the practice squad for the Patriots. But it's something to keep an eye on. And hopefully it gets solved. But it's not a huge worry right now. But hopefully he doesn't become one.
Okay, yeah, because I thought Parker Romo was the Patriots' actual kicker right
No,
now.
no.
He is on the practice squad, so the
they can sign
Vikings,
him.
yeah, they could give him a call and be like, "You want to win a Super Bowl?" And he'd be like, "Hell yeah, probably."
Yeah.
Um,
But what does that do? Maybe what does that do for Reichard's confidence? Because kickers are weird. You bring in
but
Parker Romo, and you're like,
yeah,
it's because we don't know. We're not so sure about you.
I think he's hurt. I
Yeah.
don't think this is a confidence issue because the thing with Reichard is like he has been a kicker since he started playing football. Like he wasn't like a safety, and they're like you're kind of slow, or like, he wasn't a former soccer player. Like
Since he was in
kicked.
diapers.
Yeah, he kicked football since he was in diapers, basically. There's a really great feature by Alec Lewis of The Athletic. If you have time, check it out. It basically details his story. Just basically, he's a trained kicking machine. That is what he does. The field goals were very weird. Yeah, like I know 58's kind of a iffy one to begin with, but Reichard usually makes that kick. And it was online too. So I mean, if it clears the crossbar, we're like, okay, cool. We got an extra field goal.
And it was indoors too. It
Yes.
wasn't outdoors.
The missed field goals were a little weird. They were in the same spot. So it makes you think, hey, maybe it was just a mechanical thing, like he was overcompensating for something, like an injury. There was also the kickoff too, where he just he kicked it and it didn't get into the landing zone. So like something feels off there, and I wouldn't be surprised if like the Vikings said, "Hey, like we still believe in you, but like this quad injury is becoming a problem. Like let's get you healthy, let's do all that, and we're just going to sign Parker Romo and have that." I don't know. I don't think all of a sudden he normally like forgot how to kick. That's what I'm saying. And I think there's a lot of people who are just like, oh, here we go. The yips. Like he needed. I don't think that's what's happening. I think the quad injury is more than people are letting on. And we'll see what happens. I mean, if he goes to Detroit, he shanks a field goal for home field advantage, then we really start talking about this. But
I think he's torn.
Thank God Mike Zimmer's not the coach.
He would have been cut already.
Phil Mackey joked. He's like, Zimmer would have cut him before the second time out there. Like, this isn't, I've had enough of it. Just shotgun on the sideline.
I was kind of surprised that the Vikings even attempted that 57-yard field goal because I think it was like 4th and 2 or something. Mm-hmm. It was on the Packers side of the field, and I figured the Vikings would just try and go for that. But apparently they just wanted the points, and they felt Reichard could make the fact that they felt Reichard could make that
all year.
Yeah, shows that they still have plenty of confidence in him. But yeah, I think he's had quad problems in the past, like when he was at Alabama. So it's not a new issue, but it's something like I said, to keep an eye on. But yeah, Vikings and kickers, it's never going away.
Fun times. Let's get to my second overreaction because I am ready for the Dallas Turner show to begin.
Yeah.
It sucks. Patrick Jones III got hurt on a low block by Tucker Kraft that wasn't called. Jonathan Grenard was pissed. Like they showed that, and he's like, yeah, you're 30 yards away. You motion 30 yards away, and then you basically dive into a guy's knees, and it doesn't look good. I love me some Tucker Kraft, by the way. You guys know that. I used to cover him at South Dakota State, but doesn't look like a great play. That's all I'm going to say.
But
about
Harrison
that.
Smith, that was a low tackle.
That was, yes, it was. Yeah. No, it wasn't.
No.
I all of a sudden started thinking of, well, and two, like Harrison Smith's like one of the guys like on defense who's just like, because he was talking about the Kirby Joseph hit that injured TJ Hawkinson, and he's like, where are you supposed to hit him?
Yeah.
Like it was just various safeties perspective. Like, I don't know where you're supposed to hit him where that's not a penalty or whatever. So there is that. But Patrick Jones getting hurt opens the door for Dallas Turner, who is starting to come around. He's got sacks in 2 of his last 3 games. He's got an interception in the win over Seattle. And you're probably like, he's just got 3 games. He is the Vikings' highest graded edge rusher by Pro Football Focus over the last 7 weeks. if you don't count 16 snaps by Bo Richter. So he's been playing very well. He's just been in a reserve role, and he's been behind guys who are holding down the spots like Jonathan Bernard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Patrick Jones III. So that is the key. He's also making plays at the right time, because that fourth quarter sack on Jordan Love, I think the Packers went on and scored that drive anyway, but that was still a big time sack for him. And now he's going to get on the field more because of this injury. So I'm excited to see Turner continue to progress. I'm excited to see him down the stretch, and, hopefully he can continue to make him impact plays, because remember too, the Atlanta game, Kirk Cousins was there. He was on the I'll show you card, and Dallas Turner just absolutely rocked him with a clean hit. And that, rewired Kirk's brain. He's like, oh, here he comes. Like, yeah, I'm excited to see what Dallas Turner can do here.
Yeah, it's the perfect time to kind of just get going too, because it gives them another weapon going into the playoffs, and kind of one that teams don't really know how to defend, because he hasn't really played a lot of the first kind of 3 quarters of the year, but now he's getting more snaps, and obviously he will moving forward with Jones expected to miss some time. We don't know how much time exactly yet, but at least probably Sunday's game. But yeah, it's a good sign moving forward, and a good sign for next year, and probably means Patrick Jones isn't coming back anyway. So not that I thought he was, but we can cement that probably in there and say that Dallas Turner will be in that, at least that Patrick Jones role next year, if not more. So yeah, it's good to see, because first round picks for the Vikings. Well, I guess Jordan Addison, he's worked out. So Dallas Turner's working out too, and then we'll see what happens with McCarthy. But seems like Kwesi's kind of maybe redeemed himself from the Lewis Cine pick. Not that I think that really was all of his doing. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Dallas Turner can do. Righty. Let's
you want to do this is a terrible segue and a bit of an on there.
No,
do you want to do the read?
You do.
All right. Well, if you are high on Dallas Turner, you could probably be like, hey, I think Dallas Turner higher 0.5 sacks on Underdog, because Underdog is the best place to cash in on all of your takes during the playoffs. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. With their pick'em game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money by just choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, like yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. And they've got all of your favorite teams' leagues and stars to choose from. And Underdog is the only pick'em platform that puts the power to cash out in your hands. They also have rescues, which means that if a player gets hurt early in a game, you can get your money back, and you receive a promo if your early injury causes you to lose. I've been using Underdog for a few years, and Adam has too. I told you about the quarter totals this week. I played them again. Spencer Rattler had 0.5 rushing yards in the first quarter, so I went higher on that one. One scramble later, I had some money because Underdog also gave me a gimme token that brought Joe Burrow's passing yards down to 0.5. Went higher on that. Won some money, and it's why Underdog is the best place to play pick'em. Download the app, sign up with the promo code The Age, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code The Age, all one word, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. You must be 18 years or older, 19 years or older in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 years or older in Colorado for some games, 21 years or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado for some games. And if you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. All right, let's wrap up our overreactions. Adam, it is your turn.
All right, let's end this with pissing some people off. So, I'm talking to you, Lions fans. So, get ready. So, my overreaction is the Lions fan base has become the worst in the entire NFL this season. So, last season the Lions won a playoff game for the first time since 1991. That's more than 3 decades ago. But with the way the Lions fans have been acting this season, you would think their team has won, I don't know, 6 Super Bowls in the last 3 decades. I get it. The Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL this season. There's no denying that. I'm not denying that at all. But Detroit has plenty of flaws too this season. They're far from the unbeatable juggernaut that some of their fans make them out to be. You've probably heard the phrase "act like you've been there before," and Lions fans definitely haven't been doing that this year, online, wherever. Holding the flag when they're playing the Packers and arguing with Matt LaFleur. But to be fair, the Lions have literally never been there before. So maybe we really just can't blame them for not knowing how to act. So it's bad when I'm agreeing with Packers fans a lot more because they're arguing with Lions fans. So please don't. I'm more angry about that I'm actually agreeing with Packers fans. But yeah, I'm over Lions fans. Like, just, yes, you guys are good and you won, but like, I don't know, just act like you've been there before. Like, yeah.
They're a lot like Timberwolves fans.
Oh,
Like, and that's not a slam towards Timberwolves. Here's what they're like Timberwolves fans in a way that a lot of Timberwolves fans have never dealt with success before.
Mhm.
But like Wolves fans are like the coolest, most chill fan base in Minnesota sports because like, yeah, they know they've sucked forever. Like they just turn it into a joke. Like Jake Scraffs on Twitter has constant jokes about the Timberwolves all the time. And like, other NBA fan bases like, what's wrong with you? Why are you celebrating a play-in win? And like, everybody's like, hang the banner. We won a play-in
that video
game.
with
Beverly. The Pat Bev thing, like Wolves fans love that because it's hilarious. Lions fans, they just went the opposite way with it. They're just like, in your fit, like it's like, 40 years of 40 years of frustration have just like come out right now where it's just like, we've taken all the shit from you we can handle and we're gonna throw it right back. And Harry's like, dude, like calm down, like we get it, man. Like
nobody had a problem with you.
Yeah, no, if people wanted this for you, like if you go back like at the beginning of last year, like, man, it'd be cool if the Lions had a big run. And now everybody's like, all right, these guys are assholes, get them out of here. This is a great segue to our one because the Lions are sitting there, they're in their trailer on 8 Mile, they're having a great time. And what's that? Open up. Remember when I said the Vikings were coming to collect a debt from the Lions in week 18? Yeah. It's time to collect.
Ooh.
Because the Vikings are going there. I went to the Vikings-Lions game in October, and I had the feeling that the North would come down to this game. Week 18, Ford Field. Lions fans already gearing up. They're like, it's going to be a madhouse. We're going to bring it. We're going to bite your kneecap off. Did I think both teams would be 14-2? Hell no. Did I think the division title would be on the line in this game? Yes, I did, because I didn't think the Packers were on the same level. These are also two different teams that the Lions and Vikings were back in October. Detroit's missing like 9 starters on defense, and they could miss one more after they go balls to the walls against the San Francisco 49ers in a meaningless game tonight. The Vikings didn't have Blake Cashman in that game. The Vikings also didn't have TJ Hawkinson because they didn't want Kirby Joseph to be a missile towards his knees. And there were just little plays that made the difference. Jahmyr Gibbs, he ran for about 7 yards per carry in that game. Sam Darnold missed a wide open Aaron Jones and decided to throw an interception towards Jordan Addison's way. The Vikings also jumped out to a 10-0 lead in that game and had a white hot crowd. Even Ivan Pace, he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. That place was rocking. And if Will Reichard was allowed to kick a 68-yard field goal, I don't know if US Bank Stadium would be standing. The Lions are a very good team. I want to say that, but their coach loves to play Russian roulette. And if you've watched the podcast before, I have a very graphic example of what I think will happen to the Lions at some point this year. They blew a 24-7 lead to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. They're a very petty franchise. Dan Skipper, anytime touchdown. I think it's a great bet for Monday Night Football tonight. Like, this is the biggest Vikings game in quite some memory. And like I said, I think Detroit stole one in Minneapolis back in October, and it's time for the Vikings to collect.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are a lot different about both teams going into next Sunday. Yeah, I think Sam Darnold's better. Like you said, Blake Cashman didn't play. Vikings are undefeated this year with him on the field. They didn't have Hawkinson, he hasn't put up like huge numbers in his return, but he's been clutch on like third down and in the red zone situations. Does he have a touchdown yet? I don't think he has a touchdown yet.
TJ?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So get that in Detroit against the Lions, against your old team. Yeah.
Right.
You
Moss,
think
Kirby, Joseph.
Yeah, you think
Ugh.
he'll be motivated on Sunday? So yeah, I just think there's I just saw a tweet too that was like the Vikings have won 9 games in a row. How many teams were favored in their 10th game after winning 9 in a row, or were underdogs in their 10th game after winning 9 in a row? Probably 0. But the Vikings are doing it, and because the season's unprecedented. Like, well, not really. I looked it up. I think the last 2 teams to come out of the same conference with at least 14 wins was in 2004. I think it was the Steelers and Patriots. Steelers had 15 wins and the Patriots had 14. Patriots went on to win the AFC Championship and win the Super Bowl. I think they beat the Eagles, I want to say.
And that was Roethlisberger's rookie year,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. And then 98, actually, with the Vikings and Falcons. And then, of course, the Falcons beat the Vikings and went to the Super Bowl and got destroyed by the Broncos.
I can still see Chris Chandler's bald spot.
I can still see the stupid Falcons players dancing on that stage and in the Metrodome. We don't need to talk about that, but yeah, like there's just a lot of different things about these two teams, and I think I'll be curious to see what Dan Campbell does tonight against. Like, if he's playing Jahmyr Gibbs all 4 quarters, he's an idiot tonight. Like, don't do that. But if you do, you deserve what you get. And we'll see what happens.
We are not cheering for an injury before anybody says anything about that.
But
like,
I don't 25 people on IR.
Right. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Like, I want to beat the Lions at full strength. Like, maybe I'm the idiot for thinking that way. But I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Damn well they're gonna have 3 plays to an offensive lineman tonight, whether it's passing, running, or whatever. Just like, yeah, we'll show the 49ers there. It's like, what are you? Okay, you beat up 49ers team. Congratulations. Like,
it's in San Francisco, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
It would be even funnier if the 49ers beat them, because I think they have enough to do it. But
their defense is still really good.
Yeah, you also have players like quitting mid-game, just like, I'm not going in. Yeah. Like, go first. But anyway, this is time now for one of our favorite segments every week. It is called Acknowledge Him, in honor of our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. You're a better job of getting the finger in the actual frame than I am. Who do you acknowledge after the win over the Packers?
I'm gonna acknowledge someone who got a game ball yesterday from Kevin O'Connell, one of the 35 players to get a game ball yesterday. Actually, I think he actually did give it to the entire locker room and then just highlighted some people. But I'm going to acknowledge Cam Akers, running back for the Vikings. So thanks to a quad contusion, Aaron Jones was pretty non-existent in the second half of Sunday's game. I think O'Connell said he would have been able to go in if necessary, but they just kept him out just for precaution. Thankfully, Cam Akers and Ty Chandler did a nice job filling in for Jones. Akers had a 9-yard touchdown late in the third quarter, gave the Vikings a 27-10 lead, and he also came up with the game-sealing catch on Minnesota's final drive, and it wasn't an easy catch. It was a fingertips falling backwards, but he still made the play and pretty much sealed the game for the Vikings. So Akers has been through a lot in the last few years, having to rehab and recover from 2 separate torn Achilles injuries. So he didn't put up monster numbers on Sunday, but I'm not sure if the Vikings would have won on Sunday if not for some of the plays that Akers was able to make. So I acknowledge you, Cam Akers.
See, that's what I like about this team. Like, there's just a whole bunch of guys like in the second wave that are stepping up. And like, it's cool to like, that's one of the coolest things you can see as a fan is guys that aren't the superstars making an impact. And that's the same direction I'm going with my acknowledgement. Jalen Nailor, man.
Ooh.
5 catches, 81 yards and a touchdown. Remember that guy dropped a harpoon in Tennessee. Granted, there were defenders in his area on that catch. There was nobody around him on that touchdown. But like you said, sometimes those are the hardest ones to catch. Ask Troy Williamson about that. Nailor looks great. I do not expect him to continue putting up lines like this, but it gives defenses one more thing to think about when you're defending the Vikings, because Justin Jefferson didn't have a target in the first quarter and like if Justin Jefferson were AJ Brown, there would have been a nuclear meltdown on the sideline, like give me the ball, dude. And he's throwing his.
You can tell when Jefferson's like, "Come on, just give me the ball."
But I mean, it's
but he doesn't. He's not like freaking out or anything.
It's more like it's more like telling your kid to do their homework, right? Yeah. Like, oh, come on, like But I mean, I don't think like the touchdown. He was wide open and like it went over his head and he's like, what are you doing? And then he turned around and saw Nailor wide open. He's like, oh, cool. We scored. Like that's what's cool about this team. So, and by the way, Justin Jefferson still wound up with 8 catches for 92 yards, no touchdowns. He helped out your fantasy teams. So, Jalen Nailor, I acknowledge you.
Yeah. He kind of, I feel like maybe the Packers were one of the first teams to try and put the clamps on Addison too on Sunday. And so the Vikings turned to guys like Nailor, Hawkinson. They threw to Johnny Munt, threw to CJ Ham, threw to Cam Akers, Aaron Jones. Like Darnold spread the ball around yesterday. And like you said, Jefferson still got like 8 catches for 90 yards. So there's a lot that defenses have to deal with, and I think that's a really big strength of the Vikings moving forward.
And Keyshawn Nixon said Sam Darnold wouldn't be a challenge before the game.
Yeah. Only threw for a career high in passing yards.
Hey, at least he was on the field, unlike another Packers corner. That's
you know what he made a good play though on Addison on that deep ball. So I'll give him that.
There is that. And again, he actually played compared to someone else we will not mention.
But Addison owes his dad like 500 push-ups, he said on Twitter.
His dad's quite the follow.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like over anxious parent, but actually kind of funny.
Much more enjoyable than Kirk Cousins' dad.
Exactly. We talked a little bit about the Lions matchup a little bit. By the way, Vikings, they're 4.5 point underdogs.
I saw 2.5.
Yeah, or maybe I probably read Action Network wrong again. So maybe they
2.5 on FanDuel. I checked like an hour before.
Okay, so we'll roll with. I mean, it's still crazy. They're underdogs in this game,
and
Lions are at home.
It could shift because the Vikings-Packers line switched like 3 or 4 times before the game. Like the Packers were favored, and then the Vikings were favored. Yeah,
every piece of Lions slime gonna go into Ford Field. I don't know. Vikings fans could find their way in too.
Yeah, it's not a hard flight. No, it's not far enough. And there's a lot of Vikings fans in Michigan, I feel like.
Correct.
Because of Kirk Cousins and JJ McCarthy.
This is very true.
The game will take place on Sunday Night Football, right?
Yes. Now here's a guy that really knows nothing about the Vikings.
No, he's like, what is Collinsworth going to do? He's got Jared Goff and Sam Darnold to talk about. Like he's going to need like he's going to need some Gatorade after the game to like get his electrolytes back in order.
He's gonna. You remember Austin Powers with the
twins
fembots?
Oh
like
yeah,
he's just like Dan, and like the fembots are like their heads explode. Like that's basically Chris Collinsworth watching the game, just like Mike Tirico is just like, "Are you okay, Chris?"
Mike Tirico is complaining about officiating and play clocks and stuff.
Well. We talked a little bit about the Lions. What about the current playoff picture? And I wanted to look at that a little bit here because it's pretty much set. The Vikings or the Lions are going to get the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's going to be determined on Sunday. The rest of the wild card matchups as of Monday morning, you have the number 7 seed, the Green Bay Packers. They fall down. They're going to go to Philadelphia likely. Number 6, Washington's going to go face Los Angeles Rams, who only have eyes for Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams runs up the middle at this point. So if you stop those, you don't even have to stop those. You can let Puka Nacua go off and everybody just going, okay, yeah, whatever.
I was just thinking, I don't think I can name a player on. Oh, I guess Jared Verse. I was going to say I don't think I can name a player on the Rams defense because Aaron Donald's
and their defense is playing very well. Like there is that, but I don't know. Like it was just weird watching.
Stafford going to retire? You think?
I don't know. Can he live without his sweet Puka Bear?
Does he retire and then Darnold goes to the Rams?
That's a possibility. You never know. So you have that, and then whoever doesn't win the game next Sunday will probably go to Tampa Bay or Atlanta. All the Bucs have to do is win. So you asked me this question. I'm going to ask this. Like, are you worried about Tampa Bay or Atlanta if the Vikings lose this game on Sunday?
No, not at all. Yeah, obviously any team can win on any given Sunday, especially in the playoffs, because it's just weird. But it's not like I don't feel like Tampa's a hostile environment. Same thing with Atlanta. The Vikings have proven plenty of times this year they can go on the road and win. They just went into Seattle, which is like one of the hardest places to win, in the rain, and they came out of there and they won. They've won Lambeau Field. They won at Soldier Field. Like, say what you want about the Bears, but it's still hard to win in Soldier Field. So no, I'm not worried about that. The place I wouldn't want to go is Philly, just because of the bad vibes that the Vikings have had there. But even that, I would still feel confident about the Vikings winning in there, especially with like the way the Eagles quarterbacks are banged up now. I think Kenny Pickett's probably not going to play. Jalen Hurts apparently has like a broken pinky too, in addition to his concussion. So can they stop Saquon Barkley? But the Vikings have a really good run defense, so I feel confident in that. No, I don't worry about the Falcons or the Bucs. Maybe next year, but not this year.
And I think too, talking about Philadelphia, it's like, yeah, I don't want to go there either, but I've said it before. This is like Bunsen and Beaker and the chemistry lab, just like stuff's blowing up in front of their face, and Nick Sirianni's running around going, me, like highly combustible. And that's the thing about the Vikings, is like they've seemed very controlled,
cool and calm,
methodical. And like their heartbeat doesn't like get like, even like my heartbeat only spiked like in the fourth quarter when the Packers were coming back, and I was like, oh my God, they're gonna and I mean,
just natural.
It's spider sense. Like when Reichard missed that second field goal, he's like, that's going to screw us, because we've seen this before. Even in the Lions game, they missed a 2-point conversion, and that was the difference between that game going to overtime and the Vikings winning that game. So, or excuse me, and the Lions winning that game. So there is that.
Why did the Packers go for 2? Do we know why? Did they just want to try and so they'd be able to win the game if they tied it, I guess, or whatever?
I think it was, but if they don't get that, then you need a touchdown, and I don't know.
Maybe they didn't want to go to win. They didn't want to go for overtime or whatever. So
right. So whatever. I mean, they drove right down the field on that drive too. That's where I was kind of like, here we go.
They were down 17.
They were. It was Garbo time, but still, like we saw with the Bears game where they played prevent defense and Caleb Williams threw screen passes to get him back in the game. I will say this. I'm a little worried about the Bucs, and I don't know if it has to do with the actual team. Like we saw, Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. Bucky Irving and Schad White. I really like the Bucs backfield. And then Mike Evans is just a beast. Like he is a very good football player who should be in the Hall of Fame one day. That being said, like there are just, my memories with Tampa Bay are not good. There's the loss for 1998 team in the regular season that happened in Tampa Bay. You have Dan Bailey's meltdown in 2020 where he missed like 5 field goals. That happened in Tampa Bay. If you want to go way back, one of my earliest memories as a Vikings fan, I remember the Vikings going down to Tampa Bay and thinking, oh, they're 0-5. What are those uniforms? Creamsicle? Like that looks Tony Dungy. Who is Tony Dungy? Yeah. Trent Dilfer was probably the quarterback back then too. They went ahead and they beat the Vikings in that game. You also have Doug Martin going off for what was it, over 200 yards? I remember it was 55 fantasy points or something. It was in the 2010s, so
Doug
you
Martin.
might have to look it up what game it was. I think that was the game where Jared Allen fought Donald Penn. Like it was a legit like brawl on the field between those two.
Yeah.
And I know like the cool thing with this team is like history has no bearing on it. Like they don't feed into narratives. It's something that South Dakota State had over the last 2 years with Jimmy Rogers. It's like, we just show up, we play our game. If we win, we do most of the time, it'll work. If we play our game, we lose, whatever. That's what we can control. Like that's what I feel. But like Tampa Bay, I don't know. There's just something in my brain that's just like, and Tampa Bay beat the Lions too. Full strength Lions at Ford Field.
Full strength Bucks too.
Yeah, they were with Chris Godwin at that point. Yeah. So there is that. I don't know, man. I just want the number 1 seed. Take a week off, rest up, and make teams come here, because 7-1 at home. The only loss was to the Lions. I like our chances.
Yeah. What was the stat yesterday where they've forced the most false starts in the NFL at home or whatever?
Yeah, but I mean, Larry Tunsil had like 10 of them.
I was gonna say that 5 of them were the Texans.
In succession.
Yeah, with the Bucks, like, I don't know. I feel like the Vikings defense is a really good matchup for the Bucks because Mayfield's prone to turnovers. He like Darnold, he kind of just throws up YOLO balls. And to be fair, Mike Evans catches a lot of those, but Evans is, he catches a lot of balls, but like I feel like he's not as dangerous as he used to be. And then I'm just not worried about the Bucks or the Falcons. I think the Falcons showed that last. Like the Falcons aren't playing Kirk Cousins, but they're still playing like he's on the field, like still making some dumb mistakes.
It's
last
his
night,
aura.
like not calling a timeout when you have 2 timeouts and 30 seconds on the clock. Like that stuff drives me insane.
What if he's sabotaging Michael Penix? Just like, don't call a timeout in this situation. The coach will get mad at you.
Well, and the stupid thing is, I hate when quarterbacks do this too. They're like, well, Penix was like, well, that's Coach Raheem's decision to call timeouts. Like, you are an NFL quarterback. Just do it. Just do it. Just call timeout.
Why'd you call timeout? Well, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, like, oh no, now we have more time.
Yeah.
Like, just, what's the do it now and or be forgiven later or whatever. Yeah, that was
Clockman has been
is Kirk Cousins
man.
still? Is he? Are we sure he's not? It's like the Scooby Doo meme where you pull the mask off of Michael Penix and still Kirk Cousins. No, Penix has a much better arm than Kirk Cousins does. That was very evident last night. Him just zipping the ball everywhere.
I'm interested to see how he looks next year.
Yeah,
I think if he's got a full year as the starter, he doesn't have to worry about the whole, I guess.
Why, you don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be back?
I doubt it. I don't think Kirk's going to sit. I don't know. Kirk might be like, you want to pay me $55 million? Or what is it? It's not 55. It's 45, I think.
That's like 39 or something, I think. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a lot of money.
It's not dead money. I think the dead money is like 60.
Yeah. It's a lot of money.
Who do we think Kirk Cousins has a better chance of getting a job next year than Aaron Rodgers? I think so, right?
Yeah.
Rodgers is just bad. He's just bad at this point.
Did you see the clip of them coming out to Gangster's Paradise and like nobody's into it at all?
Did you see the picture of Josh Allen just
I did
in the background?
Yeah. Like, okay, guys. Like,
then they got destroyed.
They got absolutely. There's nothing I love to see more than Aaron Rodgers just getting.
It's like a living sitcom. It's like The Office in football form. I feel like.
I was gonna say the Raiders will probably get him, but like Rodgers probably isn't going. Like Devontae Adams is like, no, you do not want to go there.
Oh, I think like was it Alex or I think it was Teddy Bruschi on Countdown yesterday on ESPN. He was like, who are the Jets going to get better? That's better than Aaron Rodgers. They literally had someone on their bench come in yesterday and throw 2 touchdown passes after Rodgers left. They already have someone who's better than him.
I mean,
Like,
you never know what you have either. Carolina had Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield
Yeah.
on the same team.
yeah. And then they lost. Then they lost Mayfield yesterday, and Darnold had a career high in passing yards. So good job, Carolina. But Bryce Young's pretty good. He's getting better.
I'm sure whatever the Carolina fan-sided site probably isn't seeing as much action as the Viking Age these days because we've got a lot going on at the Viking Age. Why don't you tell the listeners or viewers on YouTube what's going on over there?
Unlike the Panther site, catcrave.com, run by a former Viking Age writer, Dean Jones. So shout out to Dean. Does a good job over there. We are not focusing on the draft right now. That is not the priority for the Viking Age. We will still look at some mock drafts because they're everywhere and they're getting a little more exciting this time of year. But our focus is on the playoffs, on the Lions in Week 18, the maybe some teams that the Vikings would prefer to play in the playoffs, like we just talked about. I'm also working on the 30 worst takes for 30 worst Vikings takes from 2024 that I will have available tomorrow. There are some good ones. You got between Kirk Cousins leaving, Sam Darnold signing, the Vikings being picked to win 5 games by so many people, the Vikings getting off to a hot start and people still not believing in them. Yeah, there is a lot to choose from. I found a lot of hypocritical statements that I see some people like I don't know, Phil Simms raving about Darnold this year, and he was one of the people who was just berating the Vikings for getting rid of Kirk Cousins after they let him go. So it's fun. Also, a bunch, maybe Mike Florio might make an appearance or two in some of those, and Charlie Walters is definitely going to make an appearance in that list as well. So keep an eye out for that. VikingAge.com. Follow me, Adam Patrick NFL on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram.
One of the Minnesota sports luminaries has the preposterous statement tournament.
Yes.
You could probably have a tournament with all the Vikings.
Adam Thielen won last year with the Super Bowl, the Carolina thing, I think.
Yeah.
Where he said he went to Carolina to win a Super Bowl.
I'm just lucky I didn't put my Dallas Turner take in print. That he was going to be the next Chris Dolman. Whoops.
Well, he's
got time.
He does.
He could go out and just
was
go
Dolman
full
good
Chris
as a
Dolman.
rookie?
Yeah, he blew up.
Yeah.
He's like Luke Braun put it, he was Randy Moss on defense. So
wow.
Dallas Turner has fallen short of that bar. But
yeah.
Bad takes aside, you can get everything from me as well. I'm at the real Chris Schad. Like he mentioned, he's Adam Patrick. He's at Adam Patrick NFL.
Hold on.
We are the Viking Age podcast. We do this.
Hold on. Chris Dolman had half a sack his first year. Okay.
Oh,
right. There you go. And 3 sacks in his second year. So he did not blow up. All right.
Okay.
You're good.
Man, I feel like that's weird. So
maybe
I'm on track.
He had 113 tackles in his first year, but he was more of a linebacker in his first year. He's listed as a outside linebacker, where in his third season he switched to defensive end, and then he had 11 sacks. So
you can get stuff like that right here on the Viking Age podcast. We do it every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. Our community is starting to grow a little bit. It's a lot of fun. I'm seeing the numbers here. Used to be 1 or 2 people while we talked about WWE for 20 minutes. Now that the Vikings are good, people are hopping aboard. So we appreciate all of you. Like, comment, share, subscribe, get all that stuff so you can never miss a new episode and we can keep growing, get more people on board. But until then, for Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.